They built 96 houses on my land. Not by accident, on purpose. I inherited 47 acres in Colorado from my grandfather, paid off and pristine. I went to visit the property for the first time in 3 years and found an entire subdivision where my forest used to be. Paved roads, streetlights, families moving furniture into houses they'd paid $485,000 each for. The HOA president, a woman who'd never worked an honest day but wore a Rolex like a badge, told me to my face I was a deadbeat squatter trying to scam hardworking families. She said her lawyer confirmed the land was abandoned, so adverse possession made it legally theirs. She'd already deposited $16 million in pre-sales. Here's what I did. Absolutely nothing. I let them finish construction, watched them landscape, paint, install pools. Then I walked into federal court with my grandfather's original 1971 deed. What would you do if someone built a neighborhood on your property? Drop your state below. Let's see where my land rights family is watching from. My name's Dakota Flint, yeah, like the stone. 47 years old, structural engineer, divorced. I drive a 2008 Silverado that burns a quart of oil every month. Nothing special about me, except one thing. My grandfather left me 47 acres of Colorado forest worth about $4.2 million. William Flint bought that land in 1971 for $8,200 cash, Depression-era guy. Kept every receipt in leather ledgers that smelled like pipe tobacco and WD-40. When he died in 2019, he left me the property with one note tucked inside the deed. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. I didn't visit for 3 years. Divorce, 2 kids in college. 70-hour work weeks, but I paid property taxes every April, $6,400 annually, never late, always online. I had the email receipts. August 2022, I finally drove up to scatter Grandpa's ashes. Turned off Highway 36 onto the old fire road and my stomach dropped. The pine forest was gone. In its place, 96 Mediterranean stucco houses with fake balconies and CAMB mandated beige paint. A carved stone entrance sign read Ridgeline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. I checked my GPS 4 times, same coordinates. This was my land. At the gatehouse, a security guard stopped me. Residents only. I own this property, I said, holding up my phone with the deed photo. He smirked. Sure, buddy. And I'm Elon Musk. Turn around. Before I could argue, a white Range Rover pulled up. Out stepped Cassandra Whitmore, mid-50 seconds, Botoxed into a permanent look of mild surprise, wearing white linen that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She had that specific energy of someone who'd never been told no by anyone who mattered. Problem, Ray? She asked the guard, not looking at me. This gentleman claims he owns the development. Cassandra finally turned her eyes, scanned me. Work boots, Carhartt jacket, calloused hands. I watched her mentally file me under paw. How charming, she said. Sweetie, if you're looking for construction work, most crews have filled their labor positions, but I can take your number. I'm not looking for work. I'm the legal owner. My grandfather, William Flint. She pulled out her phone, scrolled with manicured nails. Our title company ran a forensic search. This land was abandoned for over 3 years, which, under Colorado Adverse Possession Statute 3841101 means nothing if property taxes were paid, I interrupted. Her smile went sharp. That's adorable. You know just enough to be dangerous. She pulled out a business card, held it between 2 fingers like it was contaminated. Brian Keir, our attorney. He'll explain why your claim is, what's the legal term, frivolous. I took the card. How many houses are sold? All 96 pre-construction sales, totaled 16 million. Families are moving in by Thanksgiving. She said it like a threat. This is a legitimate development, properly permitted through Boulder County. If you continue trespassing, he'll call Sheriff Mitchell personally. We're major contributors to his department's equipment fund. Then she did something that made my blood freeze. She pulled out her phone, snapped my license plate. Just in case you decide to come back and vandalize anything, we have excellent security footage. She leaned closer, and trust me, honey, people like you don't win against people like us. The diesel smell from a nearby excavator mixed with fresh concrete. A nail gun echoed pop, like a countdown. I drove home, hands shaking. That night, I spread Grandpa's documents across my kitchen table, the 1,971 deed, 47 annual tax receipts, survey maps. Cassandra had threatened me, photographed my truck, and implied I was a criminal. She'd also just given me everything I needed to bury her. Monday morning, I called Brian Keir, Cassandra's attorney. His receptionist had that voice, professionally pleasant in the way dentists are when they're about to tell you that you need a root canal. Mr. Keir is in depositions all week. Can I take a message? Dakota Flint. About the Ridgeline Heights property. Pause. Oh yes, Mr. Keir anticipated your call. He's authorized me to offer a nuisance settlement of $15,000 if you'll sign a quitclaim deed by Friday. $15,000? For $4.2 million worth of land. I laughed, a harsh bark that startled my dog from his nap. Tell Mr. Keir I'll see him in court. That evening, I googled Quiet Title Action Colorado and found Lydia Chen. Lydia Chen, 62, Chinese American. The attorney who just bankrupted 3 Colorado developers for fraudulent land deals. Her office was a converted barn on the edge of Boulder, filled with case files and the ghosts of crooked developers. I called. Her assistant said she only took pro bono cases for legitimate claims. Bring everything. Every receipt. The next day, I drove to Boulder with 3 bankers' boxes full of Grandpa's meticulous records. Lydia's office smelled like old books and determination. She didn't look like the kind of lawyer who loses cases, or friends, or sleep over rich people who think rules don't apply to them. Lydia had a voice like gravel wrapped in silk, the kind that could convince a judge the sky was green if she needed to. She listened to my entire story without interrupting, making notes in handwriting so perfect it looked like a font. When I finished, she set down her pen. Show me your tax receipts. I pulled out a folder, thick enough to hurt someone, email confirmations, bank statements, county records, every April payment since 2019, plus copies going back to Grandpa's first payment in 1971. She flipped through them, and I watched her mouth twitch into something that might have been a smile on a less controlled face. Colorado adverse possession requires 18 years of open, continuous, hostile possession, and the squatter has to pay property taxes the entire time. If you've been paying, their claim is stillborn. So, I get an injunction? Stop construction? You could. She closed the folder. But here's what it'd do instead. And you're going to think I've lost my mind. Let them finish building. I stared at her. What if you stop construction now? Cassandra's company declares bankruptcy. Your land gets tied up in a 3-year litigation circus, with 96 families who bought homes in good faith suing everyone, including you banks, title companies, insurance companies. It becomes legal whack-a-mole. She leaned forward. But if you let them finish, then file for declaratory judgment. You own 96 completed houses. Cassandra's company has committed textbook fraud, selling property they don't own. They'll be desperate to settle because the alternative is prison. My hands were shaking. What if they somehow win? They won't. But even in some parallel universe where they did, you've lost nothing. Your land's already occupied. The difference is whether you fight one corrupt developer or 96 traumatized families. It was cold, strategic, brutal, and it made perfect sense. How much? I asked. 40,000 inches legal fees, maybe 50,000. But when we win, and we will, the court awards damages for trespass, unjust enrichment, fraud, and attorney's fees. Thinking and lethal competence. Posture is upright and commanding. Carries expensive leather briefcase, outlining the ownership options with empowering clarity. I had 12,000 inches savings. My Silverado needed a transmission. My daughter's tuition payment was due in January. I'll figure it out, I heard myself say. One last thing, Lydia's voice dropped. Don't contact Cassandra. Don't post on Facebook. Don't tell anyone except your kids, and maybe one trusted friend. In property litigation, surprise is worth more than gold. I hired her that day, signed a retainer agreement that made my stomach hurt. September bled into October. I drove past Ridgeline Heights twice a week, parking on the public road with my phone camera running. Framers swarmed like ants. The air smelled like sawdust and diesel fuel. Plumbers hauled coils of PEX tubing. Electricians snaked wire through walls. And every time I visited, I took time-stamped photos. Cassandra spotted me during her 3rd week. She made a phone call. I could see her from 200 yards away, gesturing at my truck like I was a bomb. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up behind me. Deputy Torres, young guy, probably late 20s, with the uncomfortable body language of someone caught between a rock and a campaign donor. "Sir, need to see your license." I handed it over. "I'm on a public road, officer." He walked back to his car, ran my plates, came back looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Mrs. Whitmore says you've been harassing her, following her, taking pictures. I'm documenting construction on property I own. Check Boulder County records. Parcel APN 5593248. Owner Dakota Flint." Torres shifted his weight. "Look, if there's a property dispute, that's civil court. But she's filed a formal complaint. If she calls again saying you're threatening her, I'll have to take action. Understand?" Translation: she donates to the sheriff's re-election fund. You don't. Understood. He left. I kept taking pictures. By November, the first families moved in. U-Hauls blocking cul-de-sacs. Kids on scooters. The smell of pizza delivery mixing with fresh paint. I watched a couple carry a crib into house number 43. Watched another family plant a maple tree in their front yard. And I felt sick. Because these weren't villains. They were people what'd saved for down payments. Who believed they were living the American dream. But Cassandra, she was about to learn that stealing costs more than money. Thanksgiving week, Cassandra sent me a certified letter. I signed for it at the post office, and the clerk, a woman named Deb who'd known my grandfather, wrinkled her nose when she saw the return address, Whitmore Development LLC. "That's the lady building those McMansions on Old Mill Road, right?" She handed me the envelope. "My sister tried to buy one. They wanted $485,000 for 1,800 square feet. Highway robbery." I opened it in my truck. Legal letterhead, Brian Kear's signature at the bottom. 3 pages of dense legalese that boiled down to "Stop trespassing, or we'll sue you for harassment." There was a photo attached: my Silverado, parked on the public road, taken from inside the subdivision. Someone had circled my license plate in red Sharpie, handwritten, in the margin, "Document everything." I drove straight to Lydia's office. She read the letter, then started laughing, not the polite kind, but the genuine belly laugh of someone who'd just been handed a gift. "They're documenting their own fraud," she said, wiping her eyes. "Every letter they send, every photo they take, every interaction, it's evidence that they knew there was a dispute and kept building. This is beautiful. Doesn't feel beautiful. Feels like him being stalked. You are. But here's what you're going to do: nothing. Let them waste money on legal threats. Let them generate evidence. Well, file in January, right after the holidays, when everyone's distracted." She pulled out a yellow legal pad. "Meanwhile, I need you to get me everything about Cassandra Whitmore property records, business filings, tax liens, anything public." I spent the next week at the Boulder County Clerk's office, microfiche machines humming like angry bees. Found Whitmore Development LLC incorporated in 2018, no liens, clean on paper. But then the ownership history: Cassandra and Preston Whitmore bought the company from a shell entity in Delaware for $10,000. The shell company was owned by their son, Ethan Whitmore, 28 years old, no business experience, lives in a condo paid for by mommy and daddy. I emailed everything to Lydia. Her response was immediate. "Keep digging." I did. Found a 2017 property transfer from a trust to the Whitmores for $1.2 million that smelled like money laundering. The trust was controlled by the same Delaware shell. Sent it to Lydia. By Christmas, Lydia had a full picture. The Whitmores had been playing musical shells since 2015. Every time a project got too hot, they'd transfer assets to a new LLC, dissolve the old one, and start fresh. When I realized the pattern, I felt like a structural engineer wad finally spotted a load-bearing wall. This wasn't amateur hour. This was a machine built for fraud. By January, we had enough to bury them. Lydia filed the complaint in Boulder County District Court on January 5, 2023. Quiet title action against Whitmore Development LLC, seeking declaratory judgment, treble damages for fraud, and quiet title for all 47 acres. Service of process was served on Brian Kear at his downtown office. He called Cassandra within minutes. Cassandra's reaction was predictable. First came the counter threats. Brian Kear filed a motion to dismiss. claiming frivolous litigation. Lydia's response was a 47-page opposition brief that read like a prosecutor's closing argument. The judge denied the motion in February. The harassment ramped up. First, the IRS audit letter arrived. They claimed I had unreported income from consulting work I'd never done. The tires on my Silverado were slashed overnight. No fingerprints, no witnesses, but I knew. I called Lydia, sent photos of the damage. Her response was exactly what I'd hoped for. "Perfect," she said. "This is exactly the kind of escalation we can use. Every act of harassment strengthens your case for punitive damages. File a police report. But don't press charges yet. Let it sit in the system as evidence of their bad faith." My daughter Emma found out about the suit from a friend. "Dad, this is serious. You could lose everything." I hugged her. "Sweetheart, I won't lose anything. I'll gain justice." The next morning, a black sedan was parked across the street. Tinted windows, engine idling. The kind of car you see in movies before someone gets whacked. I noted the license plate, jotted down times and locations. Lydia advised me to get a dash cam for my truck. The PI followed me to the grocery store, to the gas station, even to my kids' soccer game. My daughter Emma started noticing. "Dad, that car's been there every game." "I know, kiddo. It's okay." But I started varying my routes, checking mirrors more. 2 weeks later, I caught the PI buying coffee at the same gas station. Balding, late 40s, cheap suit, the kind of guy who thinks a notepad makes him invisible. I took his photo with my phone, got the license plate, sent it to Lydia. By February, she'd identified the PI as a disgraced ex-cop working for a firm that specialized in asset protection. The firm was connected to Whitmore's lawyer network. The PI's firm had been sued twice for illegal surveillance. One case settled out of court for $250,000. The second was dismissed when the plaintiff couldn't afford to continue. I found Patricia Hughes, investigative reporter for the Boulder Daily Camera. Known for exposing county corruption, she'd written about developers dodging taxes. I emailed her anonymously, attached the shell company docs. Patricia called back within hours. "Who is this?" she asked, voice like someone who'd chased too many dead ends. "Someone who knows the Whitmores are crooks," I said. Patricia's voice sharpened. "What do you have? Shell companies, tax dodges, insider trades, that kind of evidence? Send me everything." I did, and by the end of the week, Patricia's first article hit the local paper. Local developer sued for fraudulent title claims. Front page of the Boulder Daily Camera. The article quoted an anonymous source familiar with the matter and detailed the shell companies, tax dodges, and questionable property transfers. The harassment started small. Anonymous letters in my mailbox. "Stop the harassment or we'll expose your criminal past." I crumpled it and threw it away, but I photographed it first. Then the letters escalated. "Stop or we'll make sure your engineering license is revoked." I forwarded it to Lydia. Then came the private investigator. Black sedan, tinted windows, keeping just far enough back to not be obvious. I started taking evasive action, sudden turns into shopping centers, looping back on residential streets. The PI was good, but I was better. I knew the back roads like my own hands. I got his plate number and ran it through the Colorado DMV site. Registered to Asset Protection Services in Denver. I forwarded the details to Lydia, who forwarded them to Patricia. Patricia's investigation began. Her first article ran in March. Local developer sued for fraudulent title claims. It was front page, with a sidebar on the homeowner's court in the middle. The sidebar interviewed Sarah Chen, the young mother who'd become the unofficial spokesperson for the 96 families. "We're not criminals, but we've been victimized by one," Sarah told the paper. The article also mentioned the harassment complaints against me, but framed it as retaliation for a legitimate property owner. Public opinion was shifting, and Cassandra's confidence cracked. She called Brian Keir at his office, voice like ice cracking. "This is outrageous. How dare that janitor sue us?" Brian's voice was measured, but I could hear the panic underneath. "We need to settle, Mrs. Whitmore. This could go very bad." "Absolutely not. Hire more lawyers, sue the judge." Brian knew then that he was in trouble. The vandalism came next. "Quit now," spray painted across the hood. I filed a police report, got a case number. Lydia added it to the growing file. The IRS audit notice came certified, just like the lawyer letters. They wanted 3 years of records, and threatened $100,000 in fines if I didn't comply by the deadline. I forwarded it to Lydia with a short note. Retaliation? Her reply: absolutely. File everything. I responded with copies of all my returns, every W-2, receipts proving the income never happened. The IRS letter was a bluff, and they dropped the audit in April when the court date approached. But the damage was done. The intimidation worked the way intimidation works, by making the victim feel crazy. But I didn't quit. In March, I caught the PI buying coffee at the same gas station. Balding, late 40 seconds. Cheap suit, the kind of guy who thinks a notepad makes him invisible. I took his photo with my phone, got the license plate, sent it to Lydia. The Boulder County Courthouse smelled like floor wax and recycled air. I met Lydia in the hallway outside courtroom 3C at 8:45 a.m. She wore a navy suit that probably cost more than my truck, carrying a leather briefcase that looked like it could stop bullets. "You ready?" she asked. I wasn't. My hands were sweating. I'd worn my only suit, the one from my daughter's high school graduation 3 years ago, that now felt too tight in the shoulders. "Do we have enough? We have a nuclear bomb. Trust me." She checked her watch. Cassandra's attorney filed a motion to dismiss yesterday at 4:57 p.m. Classic delay tactic. Judge Ramirez hates that. We walked into the courtroom. Cassandra sat at the defendant's table with Brian Keir and Preston Whitmore, her husband, who had only seen in property records. He was whispering to Keir, both of them looking relaxed, confident. Cassandra saw me and smiled. Actually smiled. Like she'd already won. Judge Angela Ramirez entered. A woman in her 50 seconds with reading glasses and zero patience in her expression. All stood. "Be seated." Case number 2023 CV 00000847. Flint vs. Whitmore Development LLC and associated parties. She looked at Keir. "Counselor, I received your motion to dismiss at 5:00 p.m. yesterday. You want to explain why you think that's appropriate?" Keir stood. "Your Honor, the plaintiff's claim is defective on its face. Whitmore Development holds clear title via adverse possession. Mr. Flint abandoned the property for over 3 years. Did he pay property taxes?" Judge Ramirez interrupted. "Well, yes, but adverse possession fails under Colorado Statute 3841101. What else do you have?" I watched Keir's confidence crack like cheap concrete. "Your Honor, the title company conducted a thorough search." "Objection, Your Honor. The statutes are clear on tax payment requirements." "Sustained. Counselor, your motion is denied. Proceed with the case." Brian Keir looked like he'd been slapped. The real trial began with opening statements. Lydia stood, buttoned her jacket, and began. "Your Honor, members of the court, on the 15th of January, 1971, Thomas Flint purchased 47 acres in Boulder County for $12,500 cash. That deed has never been encumbered, never been sold, never been transferred. And yet, defendants Whitmore Development LLC knowingly and willfully built 96 homes on property that was never theirs, selling them for $485,000 each, while collecting $16 million in pre-sales. This is not just a property dispute. This is fraud. This is theft, and we will prove it." Brian Keir's opening was defensive, rambling, full of legalese. But Judge Ramirez cut him short after 12 minutes. "Mr. Flint, your witness, Dakota Flint," I murmured, as if the words didn't weigh 47 acres of family land. Lydia called me to the stand, and as I stood, the weight of 47 acres felt like an anchor lifting from my chest. I swore the oath, and the questions came questions about taxes paid, receipts kept, a lifetime of honoring Grandpa's promise to never sell. Lydia walked me through every tax receipt, every assessment, every payment since 1971. The defense tried to trip me up on chain of title and tax minutiae, but Lydia objected before I could speak. "Sustained. Get to the point, counsel." The trial settled into rhythm. Lydia's methodical presentation of evidence, the defense's desperate cross, Lydia's redirect that landed like hammer blows. My testimony lasted 2 days. Under oath, I held up Grandpa's ledger, the one with 52 years of tax stubs tucked inside, and described the man who taught me everything about keeping one's word. "Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence shows clear title, paid taxes, and defendant's willful fraud. The defendants used intimidation, harassment, and lies to maintain a facade of legitimacy. The jury returned their verdict after 2 days of testimony and evidence. Judge Ramirez read the verdict from her elevated bench, her voice steady but carrying the weight of justice. The court finds in favor of the plaintiff. Defendants guilty of fraudulent conveyance, trespass, and unjust enrichment. Treble damages awarded, $3 million for actual losses, treble to $9 million, plus attorney's fees. The Whitmores were ordered to cease all operations and face criminal investigation for fraud. Court adjourned. Criminal referrals went to the DA's office that afternoon. Cassandra's Range Rover was impounded the next week. The mansion in Aspen was auctioned for $8.2 million, less than the outstanding liens. The Whitmores filed for bankruptcy the following month. Demolition of the 96 houses began in May. I called a town hall meeting at Ridgeline Heights on May 15th. The 96 families packed the community clubhouse, faces a mix of fear and defiance. Sarah Chen stood up front, holding her daughter's hand tightly. "I can't imagine how this must feel for you," I said, "but I want you to know that the judgment doesn't mean eviction. The court awarded me clear title, but my goal isn't to destroy 96 families who were as victimized as I was. I've set up a trust with the court, awarded damages. The families can remain in their homes for a nominal fee, or buy out their interest at cost. No interest, no profit to me." The room erupted in applause, and Sarah Chen's daughter waved from her mother's lap. I kept 5 acres for a cabin. The rest became a community trust. The 96 families became shareholders in a new community land trust, retaining their homes and sharing in future appreciation. The trust funded scholarships for their children, named after my grandfather, Thomas Flint. I kept Grandpa's cabin site, 5 acres where the forest would regrow. I sat on the cabin steps that summer, Grandpa's ledger in lap, watching the trees reclaim what was mine. Justice isn't just for the rich. It's for those who keep receipts. The Whitmores were done. Ridgeline Capital dissolved within a week. Their personal assets, the Range Rover, the Aspen vacation home, Cassandra's jewelry collection went to auction to pay creditors. Preston was indicted on 6 federal fraud charges. Cassandra took a plea deal. 3 years probation, $500,000 restitution, and a lifetime ban from Colorado real estate development. The title company lost its license. Brian Kemper resigned from his law firm to avoid disbarment. But the ruling created a new problem. What to do with 96 families who'd bought homes on my land? I could have forced them out, sold the houses myself, pocketed another $16 million. That's what the law allowed. That's what a lot of people expected. Instead, I called a town hall meeting at Ridgeline Heights on March 15th. All 96 families showed up, cramming into the unfinished clubhouse that Cassandra had promised but never built. Sarah Chen stood in front, holding her daughter's hand. An elderly couple named the Rodriguez sat near the back, looking terrified. These weren't villains. They were teachers, nurses, electricians, people who'd saved for years to buy a piece of the American dream. I stood at the front with Lydia beside me. "I know you're scared. You bought homes in good faith. You did nothing wrong, and I'm not here to punish you for someone else's crime." The room was silent, enough to hear snow melting on the roof. "Here's what I'm proposing. I'm transferring ownership of all 96 homes to the Ridgeline Heights Community Trust, a non-profit we're establishing today. Each family will own their home, through the trust, at the price you originally paid. No mortgages, no interest, just what you've already invested. If you've paid $485,000, you owe nothing more. If you still have payments left, you finish them to the trust at 0 interest." Someone gasped. Sarah Chen started crying. "The trust will use those funds to maintain roads, cover property taxes, and establish a scholarship fund for kids in this community. My grandfather believed land was about legacy, not profit. This is his legacy." The applause started slowly, then built, like a thunderstorm. People were hugging, crying, shouting thank yous across the room. An elderly man, Mr. Rodriguez, walked up and shook my hand so hard I thought my shoulder would dislocate. "You're a good man," he said. "Your grandfather raised you right." The scholarship fund launched in September. The William Flint Memorial Scholarship, $10,000 annually for a Colorado student studying engineering, forestry, or environmental science. Emma helped me set it up. She said Grandpa would have loved that his ledgers full of timber sale records were now funding someone's education. I kept 5 acres for myself at the north end of the property, the part with the old growth pines Grandpa had refused to log. I built a small cabin there, 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy. Sold my house in town, and moved in last October. I wake up every morning to the smell of pine and coffee. I watch deer graze outside my window. Tyler visits on weekends. Emma brings her boyfriend, a law student. Naturally. Even my ex-wife, Jennifer, came by once with her new husband. Said she was proud of me. That felt strange, but good. Patricia Hughes did a follow-up story in December. From property theft to community triumph, how one man turned injustice into justice. It won her 3rd Emmy last week. Sarah Chen's daughter drew me a picture of a crayon house with a stick figure labeled Mr. Dakota holding a giant deed. It's on my fridge now, held up by a magnet shaped like Colorado. I think about Grandpa's note sometimes. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. He was right, but what's mine isn't just land or money. It's knowing that 96 families sleep safely because I didn't quit. It's a scholarship that'll help some kid who reminds me of myself, broke, stubborn, just trying to build something. It's justice. The real kind. The kind that heals. The real justice isn't the $9 million. It's 96 families who can pass their homes to their kids without crushing debt. It's a scholarship that gives some kid the same chance Grandpa gave me. That's what I call justice. And if you're watching this, and you've got a story of someone trying to take what's yours, don't let them. Keep receipts. And fight. Thanks for watching. Drop a like if this story hit home, and subscribe for more underdog wins. The screen fades to black. End credits roll over the forest reclaiming its land. So here's my question for you. Have you ever dealt with a CAMB nightmare, a property dispute? Someone who thought they could steamroll you because they had money and you didn't? Drop your story in the comments. Let's build a library of how regular people beat corrupt systems. And if this story mattered to you, if it reminded you that good people can still win, hit that subscribe button. Because I've got more stories like this. Stories about the little guy outsmarting the machine. Stories with receipts.